Welcome back, everyone. I'm T,
And I'm Nessa.
and together we are the Casual Fangirls, coming to you again with with our continued coverage of HBO's House of the Dragon. Dragon. Boy, does this show have a lot of them, but it seems not enough to go around. Nessa,
Mm.
let's do what we do every week. If you had the opportunity to steal a dragon, do you think you could?
First of all, steal is a strong word, but I would absolutely claim a dragon if there was one left unclaimed.
That feels like you're playing semantics. Stealing is stealing.
No, but we'll get into it.
I don't know if what a risk. Boy, are we gonna talk about it. Like that could have went very, very wrongly.
Very left.
But before we get into that and before we dive into talking about all the crazy things that happened in this week's episode entitled Driftmark, Nessa, what did you think of the episode?
There was a lot of tension. It was a lot of tension, a lot of things going on, boiling over the pot. And it was time to choose a side. This is where sides were formed. People went one way or the other. Some people seem like they might be floating in between. Who knows? Maybe they haven't made up their mind yet. But at least it's clear that there are sides. And that is where we are going moving forward. And I'm excited about it. What did you think about the episode? How would you describe it?
I thought it was really exciting. I think it's hard because I've heard other people say that this is one of the greatest episodes in Game of Thrones House of the Dragon history, which feels a little wild to me, a little bit. I just got to think about it. But as it pertains to setting up the rest of the story, it is so obvious that the events that happen in this episode is going to catapult us into the rest of the show, rest of the series, no matter how many seasons we wind up getting. This is the episode that sets all of that in motion. And honestly, it was exciting, but it was just 1 hour of like the best soap opera you've ever seen in your life. Like I feel like our grandparents would be like, "Oh, what's happening here?"
Yep.
Like,
100%. 100%.
so
It
much
was popping.
drama. It was so good. So good. Before we get into the details of every single thing that happened this episode, obviously we have to give you a spoiler warning, even though by this point in time, you should probably already know what you signed up for. But Nessa, please.
All right, guys, this is officially our spoiler warning. We are moving forward into the plot of episode 7. And if you guys have not watched it, just know that things are going to come out. We are going into detail. Stick around if you want to. You can leave, watch the episode, come back if you want to. Game of Thrones is up for discussion. The show, the books, anything in this realm, honestly, is up for discussion. We will let you guys know if we're going any deeper to any stuff that y'all might not want to hear, but we put it out there. You know what to do. Stick around. You can watch and come back. Do what you got to do, y'all, because we are about to dive in. So T, please kick us off.
So let's get into House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 7, entitled Driftmark. So this episode picks up a short time after the last episode ended with the funeral of Laena Targaryen, née Velaryon. At the wake, there's a lot of staring and awkwardness going around. It seems this extended family haven't been all together since Rhaenyra and Laenor's wedding, which was 10 years ago. Let's talk about some of the awkward interactions we saw. So let's do this one by one. So first, it looks like this is the first time the extended family has actually seen Rhaenyra's children in person.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know because there's been a 10-year gap, but it does feel that way. And I mean, people are drawing conclusions and people are clearly whispering. The news made its way, or the rumors,
Right.
allegedly, the rumors made its way all the way to Pentos and to Daemon and Laena. So, this is known, but I believe they're making us feel like this is the first time people are seeing them in person.
Yeah, the way Rhaenyra is like clutching onto her kids and the way she's like looking to see who's looking at her, that felt very obvious to me. And I mean, to the point where I think it was the thing that was on everyone's minds where Corliss's younger brother, who was giving the eulogy at Lena's funeral, even made his like last testament about her, about how strong Valyrian blood is, an obvious homage, an obvious like call out to the fact that the only people there with brown hair is Alicent Hightower and Rhaenyra's kids.
Yeah. He definitely was bold as hell to be sitting there talking about, well, you know, our blood, it runs thin, and this, and that, and the third, and it's all about us. And I was just like, ooh, sir, you were saying it all.
Yeah, the thing about it that was kind of the wildest to me was even Viserys caught on to it. It was like looking at Corliss's brother, I can't remember his name, Corliss's brother, and then like looking at Rhaenyra, Raymond, I think something along those lines. Raymond feels too regular for that to be his name.
Vay something.
Right. And this, to me, it felt like it was like riding the very intricate line between treason. We know if you question, because this came up in the previous episode, if you question the parentage of the heir to the throne, that's high treason. So this dude doing his best impression of like poetic treason here, I thought was very, very interesting that he was willing to take that risk in front of everybody assembled.
In front of everyone. Ooh.
Yeah. Speaking of the Velaryons, which Rhaenys is technically a Velaryon, she's obviously distraught that, you know, she lost her daughter. And at the wake, when we see everyone kind of like at this weird wedding reception looking wake, Rhaenys is just ignoring Rhaenyra and her kids, like full stop, not even engaging with who are allegedly supposed to be her grandchildren.
It's awkward all around. I think just in general, I think Rhaenyra is just kind of like, I don't know who messing with me, so I'm gonna do this little small talk around here. So I think it's just awkward all around for everyone. And I think Rhaenys has caught on very quickly to these kids look very different. I don't know if I even want to have this conversation right now. And I'm mad at her. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, her daughter dies. What you got?
There's that, but when you juxtapose her against Corlys, who is her husband, who also lost a daughter, who can also see clear as day that Rhaenyra's kids look nothing like anybody else there, he's playing grandpa. Like he's out here like supporting these kids. And so to your point, I get how Rhaenyra feels. I just thought it was really interesting to see that they are just on two different sides of this coin here.
I mean, somebody got to keep the ruse going. Somebody's got to. Corlys is for the realm.
I mean, Corlys resigned and like went and fought with Daemon. Like he's gonna do what he feels like is right for his family. And
100%.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So he goes up to Luke, Rhaenyra's second son, and he's like, you know, Driftmark is gonna be yours one day. And Luke is like, I don't want it. Doing his best, Jon Snow. I don't want it.
I don't want it.
Right. And then when Corlys like digs a little bit deeper, it's like, what do you mean? And Luke very astutely goes, if I'm the master of Driftmark, if I'm the, you know, leader of Driftmark, that means everyone I know is dead.
Yeah.
Which is a very profound thing to, he looks like what, 8 tops, 7 years old tops, something along those lines. And he's already just like, I know what this means. And what it actually means is that I'm going to be all alone and everybody's going to be dead. I thought that was super sad.
It's such a sad thing, too. It's just like, like he understands what death is now at this point. And Succession. And he's like, okay, you know, where others might be like, ooh, this sounds amazing. I'm getting this place. He's like, no, in order for me to get this place, that means that, you know, these people had to die and stuff like that. So I thought that was, definitely profound that he recognizes that and understands that fully.
That, and it also shows a little bit about his personality and what he values, right? He'd rather have the people around him than have the land and the titles, and like all that 100%. Stuff, which is, I think, rare in the, you know, in playing the Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of the throne, Viserys, who again is still alive, which makes no sense.
That man should be dead. Dead.
That makes no sense. He gets up the courage to go over and talk to Damon and try to console him for losing his wife. You know, they both have experienced now death of their wives due to childbirth. For the same exact reason, even, except, you know, the two wives had very different choices in how they actually wound up dying.
Yeah.
He offers for Damon to come home, and Damon's just like, no.
He said, the gods have been especially cruel to you, brother. I was like, damn, that hurt. But yeah, Damon is not interested at all. And I think Viserys is realizing that his end is near, and he just wants to be surrounded by family. I think he just wants to make everything right, and have everyone as close as possible and have that family unit. But for Damon, it's too little too late. And I'm not surprised that he reacted in this way. I think he spent a good chunk of his life chasing after Viserys and trying to be, you know, his right hand and trying to be a part of his life and close to him. And at every turn, Viserys has pushed him off. So now Damon's like, screw that. Like, I got my own stuff going on. Pentos got these libraries. It's popping. I'm chilling. Like, he's not worried about anything else.
There's also this piece of like the way that Viserys framed it. He was like, you could have a seat on my council. That's something you should need. And Daemon was like, need. So there's also this, like, you're absolutely right. Daemon wants to be close to his brother. He wants to be chosen by his brother in a sense, but more than anything, he wants to be respected by his brother, I think. Mm-hmm. And even in the way Viserys framed that shows that, like, he's not, you know, in Daemon's eyes, Viserys is not respecting him as a man, you know, fully worthy and capable of being on the throne, even though he's not.
Yeah, just like when he was, you know, sent the letter that, oh, we're going to help you in the Stepstones. And he was like, screw that. I don't need him to come save me. And then
I'd rather die.
Right, exactly.
He said. Mm-hmm. He beat the messenger, and then he was like, I'd rather die. Two other things I want to call out. Speaking of Viserys and his family and wanting family around him, we learn here that Aegon, Alicent and Viserys' oldest child together, is betrothed to his little sister Helena, which is one thing. For all the reasons I'm assuming that anyone would would purposely wed their children together to strengthen the family, to keep the bloodline pure. Yep, all those things. And while we learn that Princess Helena is off to the side doing what she does, right? Which is minding her business, but minding everybody else's business at the same time, which is a skill, honestly.
We called it. She's a dreamer.
We did call it. We called it to a T. You know, the more you spend in these fantasy stories, the more you can just tell. You're just like, that's prophecy. I know it. I know it. How everybody around don't know it. Not a coincidence. Princess Helena says more words in this episode, and now I'm just going to assume everything that comes out of her mouth is a prophecy, like every 100%. Single thing. 100%. What she says in this episode is, hands turn loom, spool of green, spool of black, dragons of flesh weaving dragons of thread. And then she kind of repeats herself. Hand turns loom, spool of green, spool of black, dragons of flesh weaving dragons of thread. What the heck does this mean, Nessa? Like, I have a vague guess, but I'm interested to hear what you think.
I have no idea, but I think it's just leading up to the upcoming battle, the upcoming war, the upcoming fight. They're going to be intertwined, fighting each other and whatever. I think it's just a poetic way of saying they fighting.
That's exactly what I think too. Hand turns loom, spool of green, spool of black. That's the greens versus the blacks. We'll get there. Dragons of flesh weaving dragons of thread. I think that's like something like the blood of the dragon versus people who are not the blood of the dragon but still have dragons. So that's what that feels like to me. But again, the same exact thing.
Something like that. Also to note, I love how Aemon was like, I would marry her for duty. And I was like, it just lets you know where Aemon stands in terms of like his family and the crown and what to do. Because Aegon is like, Absolutely not. She's weird. I don't like her. She's nuts. I'd rather go chase these wenches all day long. And Eamon is just like, you're an idiot. You're dumb.
It shows that Alicent is putting all her stock into the wrong kid.
Yep, 100%. Eamon is a star, y'all. That man gonna rise up. He gonna do some great things.
Eamon is a second son, and second sons have to make their own way, right?
They sure do. 100%.
One of the themes of this story from Jump.
Yep.
So really, just one other thing we want to call out also, Viserys slips up and calls Alicent Emma on his way to bed. And it made me really sad because it's like, this dude is old. He's probably losing his grip of things. He probably doesn't even really love Alicent like that. He's obviously still in love with Emma. And it was just very potent that this guy is like on his way out. But also at this point, I feel like the show has been like trying to kill him for the past like 6 episodes.
Why is he not dead already?
Why is he not dead? It is really
what's I mean, in the previous episode, he was kissing Emma's ring. So clearly, you know, and it also speaks to why he stands by Rhaenyra so much, right? Rhaenyra is supposed to be like the image of her mother. It's the last thing that he has from Emma. And so he's going to do whatever he can. And I think he feels so guilty about Emma's death that he's going to do whatever he can to preserve her. So he's going to support Rhaenyra 100% going forward. And so him calling Alicent Emma did not shock me. I think it's just another sign that he's on the decline, you know. But I feel bad for Alicent. That's a moment that where you feel bad because you're just like, damn, she married this man, clearly does not want to be with this man, does not want to be raising these children, has devoted her life to the cause, right? The realm. Mm-hmm. And like, you can't even call me by my name. That's horrible. It's very Bobby B and Cersei, when Cersei was like, I think it was their wedding night or whatever. And she was like, oh, drunk, he crawled on top of me and called me, Lyanna's name. Yeah. And I was just like, yikes.
How would you react to that if you were married to the king and he calls you some other chick's name? How do you react to that?
He gotta die.
He's the king.
Okay. Drink some more wine.
Listen.
Oh, you got his herbs ready? Oh, let's dilute that.
Sprinkle.
We're pushing him into the grave. That's what we're doing.
Poison is a woman's weapon. Right?
I wouldn't poison him, but if he drink a little too much, he might
run into a boar.
It's possible. Just saying.
The last thing from this scene that I wanted to call out was that Laenor is absolutely beside himself with grief for his sister. Like, cannot hold it together at all, to the point where like his dad is like, what the hell? You are a grown man, the future king consort, get it together. Which I thought was really unfair. Like, he's home, he's around family, let him mourn his sister the way he wants to mourn his sister.
Listen, if anything we've learned, it's not about fairness. You gotta upkeep a certain,
reputation,
a certain look about you. You can't be out here breaking down, crying. They already think that you somewhat less of a man. Mm-hmm. So, to be out here looking like you about to walk into the sea, like, absolutely not. You got to show some sort of strength or something. You know what I mean? So, like, I totally understand and get where Corlys is coming from. He was like, you cannot let people see cracks in the armor. Like, you got to hold yourself together. Get it together. You can mourn her and be upset, but you got to chill out. And this is coming from her dad, her father. You know what I mean? So I get it. I'm rocking with Corlys.
I'm not. Let's move on. I'm not. Let that baby mourn.
Do it in your chambers.
do it in your cups. Do it with all the people he's entertaining, right? And when he's not beside his wife or his kids. Anyways, we'll get there. In a quiet moment after the wake, Rhaenys calls Corlys's bluff by suggesting he pass Driftmark through their daughter's line to their granddaughters. Corlys insists legacy is important and history remembers names, not blood, so changing the order of succession would be for naught. So essentially, one of the quotes I wanted to call out was, "What is this brief mortal life if not the pursuit of legacy?" That actually hit home for me.
Legacy.
Legacy, Tywin Lannister style, right?
Yeah.
That really hit home for me personally. Because when I think about like potentially having children in the future, I think about legacy and like things of that sort. And I just thought like that quote like summed it up very, 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 very well. However, Rhaenys kind of has a point. She's like, you wanted to see a woman on the throne so bad. What's the problem?
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. You're asking him to disinherit his firstborn. There's already, I'm 100% by Corlys. Would it be a great thing to pass it on to Bela and Rhaena? Sure. It'd be awesome. But the ramifications of doing that are too grand at this point in time. There's already too many rumors going. Stuff don't look good. You can't sit here and then be like, oh, and guess what, son? You're not getting Driftmark. Guess what? These kids are. Nah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I agree with that. It would definitely like throw things into way more turmoil than necessary. What stood out to me also was Rhaenys being so angry that Rhaenyra's kids aren't Laenor's. It's like, you know your son because you called it out a couple of episodes ago that you know he's not into girls. So why are you shocked by this?
Because just because he's not into girls doesn't mean he can't have children. I'd be pissed too.
Really?
Yeah.
I
feel like y'all had one job, bro.
And they tried and it didn't work. It didn't happen.
They say they tried. I don't think they tried hard enough.
You don't think they know how to do it?
I don't think, no, it's not that. I just don't think they tried hard enough. I think they did it like maybe 3-4 times and was like, all right, whatever. And then never tried again. Like, nah, y'all gotta at least be trying, at least like 5 times a year. Like, one of them kids should have at least been Valerian.
I agree. And I think at some point, like, you're like, all right, how do we create a turkey baster? Because that's all we need, right? Is some sort of medieval turkey baster where he can do his business and just find a way to transfer it to her.
And not to jump ahead too much, but like Rhaenyra, when she's telling Daemon about it, she's like, "Oh, it wasn't pleasurable." I said, "Girl, it's not about the get the job done. Get the job done so you can move on." Like that's the part that was really upsetting me. I was just like, I don't think y'all tried that hard, but sure. I mean, who am I to judge? I don't know.
It's really the multiple children. That's really the issue here. Like as soon as that first kid came out, brown hair and don't looking nothing like a Valerian or a Targaryen, you should have switched up your strategy ASAP. You should have flew over to Pentos and said, "Hey, Uncle Day Day, I need a moment," so that you ensured your next kid was coming out with silver hair.
I need a favor.
Right. I need a minute.
Help the realm.
David would be like, no.
Yeah, he would have said that.
He's like, if you're not mine, then it's no.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rhaenyra and Day Day, Rhaenyra takes a walk on the beach with her uncle Day Day, who I love. I love like calling him that, even when I'm watching the show now. It's just great. Rhaenyra takes a walk with him where they talk briefly about what happened between them and finally give in to the romantic love for each other by officially coupling. So basically the scene is just them like catching up, really, just like, how's life been for you? How's life been for you?
She is pissed. She said, you left me.
Yeah, she is.
You left her. You stirred up some crap, right? Had the whole realm looking at me wild crazy.
That's a great
And then
point.
You left. And his explanation is like, well, I thought leaving would be better because it'd be less speculation. Which, kind of true. It's not wrong. But it's still like, damn, you left me to face these rumors all by myself. Like, you could have stuck by me and been like, no, that didn't happen. That's not what's going down. And instead, you ran away and married Lena.
My husband's sister, yeah.
So I'm like, but I get it. I get it. I'd be upset too. But yeah, like you said, they were catching up. That's when she tells us that they try. And this was a question that we had from last week was like,
Mhm.
did they even try? And so getting that confirmation multiple times in the episode that they actually did try, air quotes, a couple of times, was actually good to find out. That was satisfying to understand.
Damon also says that he never, like, he left or he didn't officially make a move or something along those lines because she was a child. Do we actually believe that that is the reason why he didn't stick around and, like, try to fight for her?
He a liar. He's a liar. He's a low down liar. He couldn't get it up. He was too intimidated by her strength as this young woman, and part of him felt guilty about it. Yes, I'm not going to take that away from him. I think part of him felt guilty about the whole thing going on and how it was happening. But if he had enough guts, he would have been killed his wife and then came back and been like, hey, let's do this the proper way. You know what I'm saying? So
I think to back that up, another point that I was just thinking about is that when he proposed to Viserys that Viserys just marries her to him, if Viserys would have said yes, Damon would have had no problem. Regardless if she was a kid, he would have been like,
yeah,
I bet, right?
yeah,
Like, but her being a
he would
kid
have
would have
done
been
it.
like
Yeah, so it had nothing to do with her
being a
being
child, yeah.
young. Absolutely not. And she wasn't even a child. She was what, 17, 18?
She was older
Not a
than
child.
Lena.
Yeah, 100%.
He
So
married her. No problem.
it had nothing to do with that. Boo.
Nothing to do with that. All right. So yeah, they finally have sex. I felt like it was a little anticlimactic, but that's just me.
I mean,
Especially
I think it was just to set up like the stark contrast between the brothel and then them here, right? Having this private romantic moment and being able to be in it.
yeah, but it didn't feel. I don't know. I guess I was expecting just a greater show of passion since they keep talking about that sex is supposed to be super passionate and not just dutiful. Um, I don't know
And
what
the
I was
scene was too
expecting.
dark.
The scene was, oh my, can we?
My 30 plus eyes, my 30-year-old plus eyes cannot handle these dark ass scenes that they keep giving us. Y'all need to get it together. I will say, so I watched it on my TV, but I've also watched it on my laptop.
I was just about to say that.
It was way better on the laptop.
Way better on the laptop. I was literally just about to say that, but I did the same thing.
It was way better on the laptop. So now I know in the future, if they coming out with these dark scenes, I got to just switch over to the laptop. Because that was wild. That was just like, I was pissed for like a
I
good
was
chunk of the episode.
so angry, just
I was
like
like,
cutting
what's
out all the
happening?
lights, trying to pause it to like turn. It's just too much. They should actually do warnings at the beginning of like movies or shows, where it's like you might want to turn up the brightness of your TV.
Right. So that you can
Um,
actually see what's happening, y'all. Because it's
exactly.
important.
Right. So annoying. Anyways, on the far side of the beach, we
Yeah.
get a first look at what it takes to steal a dragon. I'm gonna go with steal. You can say claim, whatever. Aemon, with all the nerve in the world, attempts and succeeds at claiming the oldest and largest dragon in the world. Bela and Rhaena immediately realize Vhagar was stolen, claimed, and alert their cousins, Jason Luke. The four of them confront Aemon, which breaks out into a fight that results in Aemon losing an eye.
One eye amen.
One eye Aemon, walking around like Nick Fury. So,
Love that.
thoughts? So, the first thing, I loved watching that. Watching Aemon approach this dragon and claim this dragon. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was a great scene. That to watch him like scale the ropes to just get on Vagar's back. I feel like he climbed like a story and a half just to get up there.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that we actually got to see this because we've yet to see this at all, ever, in terms of Game of Thrones, House of Dragon history. So actually seeing it is awesome. I also kind of feel like But also watching it, I was just like, is that it? Like, is that all it takes?
Is it
I
that
don't know.
simple? Just like one straight
Yeah.
up, one down, and it's like, all right, you
And
passed the vibe check.
I logically know it's not a simple thing, but something about watching the way it plays out, I was like, that's all it took. Um, I just thought there had to be more time or something put in to build in that bond between Dragon and the writer. But I don't know. I guess it was weird to me that anybody could kind of walk up and then potentially do this, right? Because I'm not saying that's going to work for everybody, but potentially do this, right? And let's make it very clear, y'all. Okay. To steal something, it has to be in possession of someone else. Vhagar's rider died. Vhagar is a free agent ready to sign with any team with the biggest signing bonus. And you know what? Uncle Aemon pulled up and he dropped the bag on Vhagar. Meanwhile, Rhaena was out here twiddling her thumbs. No, she wasn't twiddling her thumbs. Let me not do all that.
She was mourning her mom.
She was mourning her mom. And granted, was it a crappy thing to do at the mother's funeral? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it theft? Nah. Like he said, if you wanted him, you should have claimed him. That's all I'm saying.
My thing is though, like, you gonna walk into somebody else's stadium and go and try to like drop a bag on their star player? That's just rude.
It's rude, but
it's not against the law. Fine.
See, but that's only if it's their star player and it's their like last week of their contract.
Anyways,
I'm just saying. Because I want the audience to understand though, like you can't pass dragons down like that. Yeah, that's not how any of this works. Once the dragon rider dies, that dragon is up for grabs, and whoever claims them claims them. So the fact that Rhaena is like, oh, that dragon was mine to claim, it's like, no. Because there's no even guarantee that she could have claimed Vhagar.
True.
Right.
Same thing with the eggs.
Yeah, same thing with the eggs. Dragons just don't get passed down like that. Was it a crappy thing to do? Yes. But it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, super crappy. But you can tell it is what it is because nobody mentioned it during the scene that we're about to talk about in a couple of seconds. Like, none of the adults was like, what? I can't believe he did that. Everybody was like, oh, snap, you got a dragon now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, 100%. Same.
But you can't tell Baela and Rhaena that. They're just like, no, that's our mother's dragon. You stole it. And hands get thrown, basically.
Ooh.
So, first of all, I want to talk
sand.
I know. It was pretty wild. And listening to people's comments, even some of my coworkers, they was like, it was pretty rough watching those kids fight like that. I was like, really? Because I have no problem watching them.
Oh God, it was awful.
I was like, get them.
Terrible. I mean, when they all jumped him, that's when I felt that way. But like, it was a tough watch. Watching these kids, I think what's tough to watch about it too is knowing that I think as we're watching all these episodes, it's the same cycle of the sins of the parents moving down to the children, right? From Viserys, from Viserys and Otto down to Rhaenyra and Alicent, from Rhaenyra and Alicent down to their kids. And now their kids are fighting each other because of things that their parents have done and set up and put into place. It was sickening to watch. I was just like, dang, this is so unfortunate. This is so rough. And then knowing that these girls have lost their mom, like literally just put her out to sea. And now all of this is going on. When I think it was Baela punches Aemon, I was like, oh yeah. And then when Aemon punches her, I was like, oh, this is getting real. I was not expecting the fight to go the way it did. I thought Aemon would have got punched and just like, tucked his tail between his legs and moved on. But I was like, oh, y'all going for it. We're doing this.
Aemon could have easily just been like, okay, you got your head off, but I got a dragon. I'll see y'all later. Like he didn't have to retaliate. He still had the dragon and both eyes. The one thing I wanted to call out that I thought was super cute was that, first of all, Baela and Rhaena went to Jason Luke for help, for
Yeah,
backup. And they
yeah,
jumped up with the quick. They was like, what? Vagar? We're not doing that.
yeah.
Jace jumped up quick. And then after Aemon punched Bayla, Jace was right there to jump in and stand up for her.
Yeah, they definitely bonded during the funeral, they held hands and everything like that. So their bond is formed, which is awesome to see that they're standing with each other and standing up for each other. They're cousins, so first cousins. So they're trying to look out for one another. But I mean, Eamon was
Aemon's
out here,
wild.
boy. Eamon's
So
wild.
the question is like, was there one kid that was more wrong in this fight?
Jace. I think it's Jace. Jace is the one who pulled out a knife in a fist fight. And so that's immediate escalation. That's just like, dang, all right, are you ready to kill this kid? Like, what is going on here? So to me, I think Jace was the ultimate wrong. It's one thing we fighting, we doing all that stuff, but nah, to me, Jace was the ultimate wrong.
I mean, the same thing could be said for Bayla. She threw the first punch. They were arguing until she threw their first punch.
I mean, whatever, kids
She
fight.
brought her
Good
fist to
punch.
a she brought her fist to a debate fight.
No, it don't work like that. Don't work like that. It don't work like that. Because just like just like we said, Eamon could have been like, well, I got dragon and left. Bayla could have been like, damn, I got punched in the face by a boy. Let me keep going. Like, let me get out of here. This
Or
kid is serious.
yeah, she had to punch him to begin with.
Whatever.
I agree that Jace bringing the knife was probably like where it went too far, obviously. But the fact that he's walking around with a knife, what does that say about how he feels about where he is?
Ugh.
Like
I mean,
you have to wonder like what would possess the next heir to the throne to feel like they have to walk around with a knife.
I mean, I feel like it's not uncommon for them to have weapons, but I think he understood that we're going to confront this dude. He's bigger than all of us. We got to bring something. I think it was more of that than like any type of insecurity or anything that he has. Because I mean, this is the world that they grow up in. Like Aegon has a sword. I'm sure Aemon has a sword. Like they all have weapons at hand, but it's just more of like, I think he was like, oh, this is going to be some. I think he was walking in there knowing that there's a chance that this is going to escalate. And he was like, if it is, I'd rather be the dude with a knife in a fist fight than, not at all.
Aemon was holding his own. He was getting jumped at one point, and then he came back and whipped all four of them.
He was. Aemon was not playing games. And
He was not.
I think that's the first. I mean, listen, claiming a dragon like Vagar gotta make you feel some type of way, man.
Invincible.
He walked up in there and was like, well, maybe they'll get you a pig. It would suit you. And I was like, bro, don't act like you wasn't getting tricked time and time again just up until now. You feeling really emboldened right now. Like, let's take it down a notch. You was in the gutter before this moment. So I think he's just feeling himself right now. So he got the world on his shoulders. He is feeling great. He just took flight. I get it. I get it.
The one thing I wanted to call out before we move into the big scene is that this fight between cousins, fight between young children, was super reminiscent of how the First World War started. Just very quickly, Dr. T is going to school you.
Go for it.
In World War One, Germany, England, Russia, three of the main players in World War One, were all being ruled by people who are related. They were cousins. They all had the same grandmother, Queen Victoria, basically. And the Kaiser of Germany never got to spend any of his summers with the other cousins, like at the vacation home. I'm not even joking. This is exactly what happened. I know it sounds funny, like I'm making the joke. No, this is what happened. And a lot of, and just other things like that. He was just always wanting like this to be accepted by the rest of the family. And they were kind of just like, your dad's weird. No. So he grew up to be very, very, very like resentful. And that's a lot of the tension that sparked World War One. And I just wanted to call that out, that like family tensions from being a young kid can literally start a world war. Literally.
Yeah.
Just wanted
The
to call
Dance
that
of
out.
Dragons, World
Dancing
Wars.
Dragons.
Treat your
So
kids better, guys. Treat your
treat
cousins nice.
treat other people's kids better too. Like, you never know.
Right? You don't know what they're going to grow up to be like.
Never know. So how did the
Yes.
adults react to this? All right. So believe it or not, immediately afterwards, it gets even more real. All the adults are shocked and worried about the well-being of the children and use this incident to lay their cards bare. Rhaenyra calls out the elephant in the room by announcing Aemon questioned her children's parentage by calling them bastards, knowing it would incriminate Alicent in treason. This escalates to Alicent insisting one of Rhaenyra's children lose an eye, and eventually she winds up slicing Rhaenyra's arm. Throughout all of this, Viserys is incapable of sending anyone to bed.
That's wild when as king you're like, everyone go, and everybody's like, nah, we're chilling. We want to see this play out. This is getting really juicy. And then like Damon's in the background just leaning against the wall watching, very Littlefinger-esque, just like, this is entertaining. This is theater for him at this point.
It really is. Like, he's like, as your father, as your grandsire, as your king, everybody go to bed. And everyone was just like, no, actually, give me your knife and I'm gonna slice your daughter. Like,
wild.
and
that
nothing
whole scene
happens.
was wild. First of all, the way nobody rushes in to stop her from attacking the heir to the crown is crazy. Nobody.
No, people rushed in.
They rushed in to stop everyone else.
That's a good point.
Alicent is standing this close with a knife up over Rhaenyra.
And no one tried to take it out of her hand.
Yes. Nope. Otto in the background, drop the knife. I'm like, immediately I would have been like, villain. Because why is nobody stepping in between them? Y'all are willing to let Alicent potentially kill her. That's crazy to me.
That's wild. And it's also one of those things like, if Corlys or someone would have stepped in to try to separate them, it feels like something Corlys would do. But if he accidentally is involved with one of them getting cut, that's his head. There's a piece of that, right? It's like, how can I interject myself without being incriminated if something happens?
I get that. But then also...
the Kingsguard should have been there. It's who it was. It should have been. It should have been somebody on the Kingsguard.
Someone, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Someone should have done. Maybe it didn't need to be Corlys, but like you said,
right.
She must have just like how Alicent has Sir Kristen. She should have somebody who is sworn to protect her and her children. So I don't understand why that person didn't step in between. It's weird. I don't get that part of the whole scene.
That's a great point. She should have Kingsguard with her, even at Dragonstone.
Yeah, I get it. TV got a TV, but like, it doesn't all the way add up for me. Or like that moment should have been quicker and then someone step in and whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like, y'all allowed her to cut the queen.
Because even Laenor, who can take care of himself, has Carl, who's supposed to be responsible for protecting him and making sure he's okay.
Is he?
I mean, that's what Corlys was just like, where's your patron? Like, go find him. Like, you're supposed to be like keeping an eye on him, basically.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't.
You're right, because they do take him to Dragonstone, so they probably made him like
some sort of like official knight, like protector or something like that. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Laenor, he's nowhere around for the scene.
Where's Laenor? So I couldn't sleep. And I went for a walk. I was really smashing my uncle, but I went for a walk. Like, he is nowhere to be found. Shameful.
And not Rhaenys. Rhaenyra could have also said, "Oh, he never came to bed." She could have also said that, but she's not going to throw him under the bus, which is great, which is good because they like trust each other. But also,
if there is somebody stationed outside their door, they could be like, "No, he was in there." It
Or she never came back. Yeah.
the better lie is to just base it in the truth. Like I went for a walk. I was out here because who knows where he was. So if somebody had eyes on him, they could easily debunk that. But yeah, it was just he was notably missing because
Hmm.
everyone was just like, where he at though?
I think it also would have been interesting if he was there because I almost feel like he would have been like, those are my kids. Why are we even having this conversation?
For sure. But it's just another like drop in the bucket of Lanar dropping the ball. He makes me so upset because it's like you entered this agreement
You had
knowing
one
the
job.
terms,
You had one job.
knowing the terms. And I get it. Your sister died. I understand. It's a tough time. But you have a duty to fulfill. And this is why Allison is so pissed. Because it's like, am I the only one here doing my duty? Like, is it just
Yeah.
me? Our king is an inactive king, passive as fuck. Sorry. Passive as hell, right? Passive as hell.
I'm trying
Everybody's
to think. Is there anyone else actually doing their duty? She might
everybody
actually
else
be the
is
only one.
Everybody else is out here running around having affairs. Damon fell into doing his duty to a certain extent with Lena, at least, as far as we know, anyways, right?
He
He was
killed
a.
his wife first, but yes.
That's why I said with Lena.
Okay.
He was a decent husband to her and the children. And, like, he was kind of doing daddy duties, at least with one daughter. And so it was just like, but like everybody else is just running around doing whatever the hell they want to do. And Allison's like, I gave up my best years, my youth for y'all. My youth. Bouncing these big old babies around.
That was a big baby.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I get where her frustration is coming from. I get, and now you done one of your kids, one of your illegitimate children done went and cut my kid's eye out. Tough look. Tough look.
I think there's also something there of just like I would have, and we'll get to this. Allison does feel remorseful for her actions, but I wonder if she feels responsible in any way for her son losing an eye because she's the one that been putting that bastard stuff in their ear.
First of all, when when Nira is like, "Oh, where did Eamon hear this? He needs to be questioned sharply." And they're like, "Eamon, where did you hear these lies?" He is staring dead at his mother. And
Viserys
what
caught
cracks
it.
me up is like if you look at the people in the background, they're all looking at her too. Because Eamon is staring for so long before he's like, Aegon. And Aegon's like, who, me? Who said that? Who said that? And then when Viserys walks over there and he's like, where'd you hear this from? He's like, Dad, everybody knows. Look at him. That was so bold to me. That was so wild to me. I was not expecting him to be like, just look at them. Like, we all know. You're the
Mm-hmm.
only one, Pops. And it's just, I think that's the most we've seen Viserys put down his foot. Nobody listened, but I'm just saying. He was out here stomping around, huffing and puffing, talking about I demand and all this stuff. I was just like, where was all this before? It's too
I
little too
mean,
late.
it's a lot too late. And I also think it just shows that like he really does love his kids because he said if anybody speaks of this again, their tongue is coming out. And Aegon was like, they are bastards. What are you talking about, Dad? Knowing that his father wasn't gonna do nothing to him.
Yeah, that's the thing. They know. They know. And like even Rhaenyra saying question Aemon in the first place is that signal of like shots fired. Allison, I know this gonna come back to you. What's good?
Yep. She was
You
she
know,
was out for blood basically.
yeah.
And speaking of that, we officially have there were some like scenes, like some like shots where it was like, okay, that's the one side and this is the other side. And I was like, oh, this is what I wanted. I wanted to like know what the sides were gonna be. So we have the Greens, Alicent, her kids, Otto, her dad, Kristen and Loris, and the Blacks, which I hate because I'm black and like whatever. But anyways, named after their house colors, basically. The Blacks are the Blacks. Rhaenyra, Daemon, Corliss was kind of like on their side. I'm gonna say Corliss is on their
Corliss is on their
side,
side for sure.
and the rest of the kids. And I want to note here that I think a huge up in the air piece of this is Renice. I have no idea where she's gonna land, especially when we get to what happens at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is the end of the episode where our loyalty is going to lie at this point?
Yep. After all that drama, do you think if someone should have been punished, who do you think it should have been?
It's a tough spot because I mean, if you think back to Game of Thrones, right? Joffrey, Arya, Sansa, the other boy, whatever. When Joffrey gets hurt by Sansa, not Sansa, Arya's wolf. And at the end of the day, they're like, all right, well, my son was attacked. A wolf got to die. It's a wolf, right? Not that we want to see the wolf die or get punished for the whole thing. But very similar kind of situation where Joffrey's egging it on. You know, a fight breaks out, whatever, stuff happens. But at the end of the day, it's not a person who's about to get punished, right? It's, you know, it's the wolf. It's a tough look to be like,
tough.
Hey, one of these little princes got to get their eye taken because mine got his.
Literally a prince.
Yeah.
Literally in line for the throne in a way that Aemon is just not.
Right. And so I was just like, I think, and I know that it's not making a definitive choice, but I think Viserys' choice was what was best. This happened. It is what it is. We're going to move forward. Kiss and make up at the end of the day, right? I think that's the only option at that point, because then to allow someone else to come in and cut one of the princes in line for the crown's eyes out, that's wild.
No, I think
that's wild.
I think you're right. His only option there was to say kiss and make up, but also reinforce like, Allison, I will lock you in a tower for the rest of your life if you don't drop this. I'm serious, basically. Like, anyone who mentions this will lose a tongue. No, we're not. You're not about to cut out our tongue. Stop it. Would he lock up somebody forever? Maybe. I'd put that to Viserys because it's not killing them, right? He's not going to kill the mother of his children, especially when he feels responsible for the last mother of his children. But he'll lock that hoe up. He'll lock her up.
For sure. Right, because now it's your children against your grandchildren, right? But your grandchildren
that hoe up and be like, you know what, your dad too close to the situation. Give me that pin back.
Yeah, but your grandchildren are the ones in line for the crown. So it's just like, either way, it's a whole bunch of treasonous crap going on, one with you or another. So it's like you can't let that happen. And then what's her name? Gosh darn it, my brain is at 2% right now.
That's fine. We're gonna get through it.
When Allison is like, Sir Kristen, take Luke's eye, I was like, and everybody's watching to see what Sir Kristen's gonna do. Especially what's his name, Sir Harold or whatever, the commander of the Kingsguard. He's like, because he's already suspicious of Kristen in the first place, so he's definitely looking at him. And Kristen's like, that's not my job. That is not my job. And I was okay, because I definitely thought he was going to step forward and try it.
I mean, but the thing is like, okay, there's three things here. One, first of all, if I'm Viserys and I see that my wife is being so defiant and she's like, Kristen, get this boy's eye, even though the king said no, y'all too close. You get locked up and you get dismissed because no, yeah, that's too close. Okay, way too close. One, two. Kristen makes a move like he's really thinking about it. And then Harold looks at him and I wonder if like Harold didn't look at him and be like, basically be the reminder of the vows that you took and like the position you hold and like what that means to him. If he would have like, because you know he hates Rhaenyra.
He does.
You know.
But is he cruel enough to take a child's eye? I think is the question.
I don't know.
I don't know.
With all those, okay, would Kristen Cole let his eye be taken? Yes. Will he actually do it? I don't think so. Maybe.
He wouldn't have stopped Allison. I know that much.
No, he wasn't about to stop her. No.
Sorry.
No. You saw how easily Damon stopped Kristen from jumping into the fight?
That was wild.
I was like, you got on all this armor. You gonna be stopped by Damon?
That was exciting stuff. This is why Day Day gets all the
He
ladies.
came straight to Rhaenyra's aid when she started bleeding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Love to see it. All right, let's
Yeah.
move forward. The next day, Otto visits Alicent and expresses his pride in her finally stepping out of her shell. We clearly see how he is proactively playing the Game of Thrones and is excited to have a partner who won't renege on the books, basically. On the ride back to King's Landing, Loras swears again his loyalty and willingness to do anything for Queen Alicent. She talks him down from taking an eye, but tells him to stay ready for her call. Do we think Loras is in love with Alicent?
I don't. I don't think he's in love with her. I think he just wants to make sure he's in her favor.
Why?
By any means necessary. Because why not? There's a lot to gain. If you're in the Queen's good favor, 100%. There's a lot to gain. Because if he, just like the rest of the realm, knows that Rhaenyra's kids are illegitimate, there could be possibly a good chance that, first of all, Viserys is on his way out. So she's about to be Queen Regent, whatever title, blah, 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 possibly, right? She's going to be the next.
Old enough to rule, though.
He is, but he's not in line.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
He's not in line to rule, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'll wait till we get to the looking ahead part. But like she's going to be the next, most powerful. So to be in her good graces, you can whisper to her, you can potentially whisper to the king. You're somewhat, now you've got a hand in ruling the realm, which is what a lot of the hands to the kings were doing, right? It's like, I'm close enough to you.
That's what he's setting up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ways that he could play it in terms of being in her good graces. So why not? I don't think, I mean,
something about the way he was staring at her just felt more than necessary for him just trying to be in her good graces.
I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think that's necessarily where it's at.
That's cool. And then the other thing too is that, like I mentioned, Otto is like proactively like an active player in this Game of Thrones thing. Like, I don't think anyone is vying for the throne like Otto is.
Otto been ready, and he been telling her, and Alicent's been dropping the ball, because why is Aegon not more ready to potentially take over the throne?
Mm-hmm.
He out here getting drunk, chasing after wenches, which, I mean, he probably would have done anyways, but at least with a different, understanding.
Yeah, there was something about him calling her a wench that just didn't sit right with me. And you know what it is.
What?
She was black. I don't want to see that.
Oh, I guess.
Another one, wench. Excuse me, sir, what?
Well, this version of Thrones doesn't see color, apparently.
I know. Fine. Whatever. I'm still sensitive to it. Anyways.
Fair.
Speaking of color, Laenor finally shows up and he feels awful for being an absent father and husband. He vows to put his desires on hold as they prepare Rhaenyra and the children to sit on the throne. Later, Rhaenyra makes her case to Daemon that in order for her to stand a chance at taking and keeping the throne, they need to get married. Daemon reminds Rhaenyra in order for them to do that, Laenor would have to die. So they make it happen. Daemon kills a Driftmark guard and pays Carl to stage a fight with Laenor. The outcome is everyone thinking Laenor died and had his face burnt off due to a fight with Carl, but in reality, the two escape to live life together in Essos. The episode ends with Daemon and Rhaenyra, with their children as witnesses, getting married the old Valyrian way by sharing blood.
Fun times.
There's a lot there. So let's take it from the top. Laenor feeling so inadequate about not being able to be there for his sister who died, this like whole family, his family unit being called to question and him not even being there. He is just feeling like a very, very like less of a man. And to Rhaenyra's credit, she's like she's trying to build him up as much as she can. Like I curse the gods for making me this way, which is such a sad thing for him
Yeah.
to say. Excuse me, such a sad thing to say. Rhaenyra was like, I don't, like, you're a wonderful man. You just need to show up. Just show up.
Do what
Because
you need
he
to do.
right, because he said like I should have been there, and she immediately says like that those should be our house words.
Yeah. Because you have not been at all. Whenever it's
Mm-hmm.
been called into question, whenever these big major things are happening, you out here running around, living your life, doing what you want to do. That's why when they had the previous conversation, he was like, "Oh, I'm owed whatever, right, to go to the stepstones and go fight." She was like, "I owe you nothing. Like you've been running around here living the life you want to live. Like you owe me. What do you mean?" So it's a shame that it took him this long to figure out, oh, here is where I need to be. But then again, it's a shame that it took Rhaenyra this long to be like, oh yeah, if I'm not having silver hair babies, people are going to question all of this.
Again, which brings me to like that being her first time being around the extended family with the kids. Like it finally, I feel like when she was at that wake, she was just like, wow, I have no allies here. No allies. So you got to like now she's like, okay, I got to start getting allies. She can't face the Greens alone, you
Right.
know?
Who's on her side?
Who's on her side and who are you going to go to first? Family, one, but I mean, not in this way normally, but like, sure, family. And it's like, if I'm going to burn, I want somebody to burn with me. Literally. We were meant to burn together, which I thought was a really weird, like selling point.
It's
Like,
romance in Targaryen, though.
I don't want to burn with you. I don't want to burn at all. What are you talking about?
It is romance in Targaryen.
Anyways, so they come up with this plot to like stage Laenor's death so that he can go
Yep.
off and live a happy life and they can do what they need to do. How did you feel watching all of that play out? I was stunned by the time we got to the last scene.
I was nervous of like, oh snap, because you know when Uncle Day Day put on that black hood, boy, he like the Grim Reaper. Something's about to go down. So I'm like, oh man, they really about to kill him though.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually happy that they didn't kill him. I was relieved that they
Mm-hmm.
didn't end up killing him at the end and that he gets to go live his life the way he wants to live it without
Mm-hmm.
anybody knowing who he is. He essentially gets the ending that Kristen was looking for with Rhaenyra, you know.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and so I was, because like if she had done that, it would have made it very difficult to root for her. I think what the show is trying to set up is making it hard to root for one side or the other. Like you feel for Allison, you understand why she feels the way she feels, you sympathize with her. But if you had went if Rhaenyra had actually went and killed Laenor or been responsible for that, it would have been very hard to
It would have
stand
been
by her
impossible.
or to see any good in her. So I'm happy that that's the way it turned out. And then also it takes a little bit of villainy away from Daemon too. I mean, he does kill somebody in the
It's a random
episode.
black boy.
He did, but at least it wasn't Laenor, you know.
At least it was a later. That's actually a good point about Rhaenyra being kind of irredeemable if that was what they were going to do.
Yeah,
Spoiler, I'm about to say something about what happens in the books. So fast forward by like 15 seconds if you don't want to hear it. In the books, like it's the history of everything that happens. You don't get a whole lot of details. The way it happens in the book is that history just says that Carl killed Laenor, and that was that.
yeah,
That was that. Like, there's no like, and just for the rest of the time, everyone assumes that that is how Laenor died. So there's no like
yeah,
subtext, and Damon pays Carl to do it. Like Damon set it up in the books. That's
hmm,
the understanding. So I don't know if this is a change from the book or if this is just like being creative with the backstory behind it. But in any event, I think you're
yeah.
absolutely right that they had to do it because there'd be no way to root for Rhaenyra if it went down a different way.
I mean, well, I'll say this. The book is basically supposed to be a recountant of history, but it's made very clear that it's from quote unquote like unreliable sources. So it's
Hmm.
like one story could be the truth, the other could be false, or they could both be false and the truth is somewhere there floating in the middle. So basically, in them putting the show, this is supposed to be the objective events that actually take place. But
Hmm.
you know, if you ask a maester, they might give you one story. If you ask a bard who's just at a party, you know, they might give you a whole different story.
Hmm.
So the book is full of different recounts of the past events. So I wouldn't say that the book was false or like, you know, it's a
No,
shit from the book. It's just that we don't know the truth necessarily. And the show is supposed to be giving us the objective truth of what happens.
exactly.
So yeah, so to the realm, they felt like, oh, Laenor's dead, but turns out Laenor was out here. But I guess he's just gonna be bald for the rest of his life because
He can't
once
grow the
that
hair back.
once that hair come back, it's like, ooh,
He
who your
cannot grow the
daddy?
hair.
Who
Exactly.
your mama? You's
Who
a
you,
black man in Essos with blonde hair.
who you
You's a
kinfolk?
Valerian. I know your daddy. I know you. You got your daddy hair. I know your daddy.
Everybody over in Pento's gonna be like, I know your kids. I mean, or your nieces. Like, stop it.
Right. So
Um, yeah. The one thing I wanted to call out that, and you might think me weird for this. This is fine. Damon was sexy as hell killing that security guard. It was just so quick and like swift and just like in and out, like deadly. Like it's awful, obviously, but I was just like, a man who would do it, bruh. I was with it.
Damon is a terrible human being, but there's something very tragically attractive about him. And so when I see Rhaenyra, I'm like, I get it. I get it. I get. I understand. I understand.
I wouldn't
This,
have did it, but I understand.
yes, 100%.
How do we think people are going to react to them getting married?
They're gonna be pissed.
Do you
No,
think so?
I think exactly what they said is gonna be true. People are gonna think that we did it, but at the end of the day, they're gonna have to question what are we capable of and what does that mean. So I think people are definitely gonna chatter about it. I think people are gonna be unhappy about it, but I don't think the common folk are going to step up and do anything, but
No.
I think it's going to give more ammunition, more fuel to the Greens to be like, something ain't right here, y'all. We got to step in. We got to do something. I'm more curious to see how the Valerians are going to react.
I was just about to say, I think Corliss is going to be like, whatever, like, this just makes it better for our boys to, or our daughters to have like our grandchildren to have a stronger family unit. I think Renice is going to, not Renice, yeah, Renice is going to be pissed. And I'm actually really curious as to how all the children are going, like, children are taking this. They didn't look happy standing there at the wedding.
They did not.
They just buried their mom and their dad. Technically, they didn't get to go to the funeral, but they still, both their daddies died, and now they got a new daddy, Uncle Daddy, Uncle Daddy. Both
Both
their
of
daddies
their
died,
daddies died. Jeez
and
Louise.
Mama's out here happy with her uncle. That's
Ye-
traumatizing as hell.
It's rough. I think the kids will find solace and we enjoyed being with each other. Um, and I think that will be fine. I don't, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the kids are going to necessarily take it. Like I said, like, it's not a happy moment except for Rhaenyra and Daemon. Rhaenyra and Daemon are joyful. They are gleeful. This is the happiest, like, wedding I think we've ever seen.
In Game of Thrones history, I was actually going to say that. Maybe Rob and Talisa. Maybe. But that was
Oh
tragic as
yeah,
hell.
yeah,
Maybe. But every other wedding was either super tragic or just super boring.
yeah.
Maybe
It's
Tommen was happy too, maybe. But like,
oh yeah, yeah. But they were just gleeful.
They were
at all.
so happy drinking each other's blood like it was wine. Like,
That was so weird. It was so weird. But fire and blood, I guess. Like, yikes. Yeah, so they split their lips open. They put blood
that
on their
hurts.
foreheads.
You ever have a cut lip?
Yeah, it's not fun.
That hurts. Why would you do that on purpose? Jeez.
But it's
Um.
the old ways. It's the old ways.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where this goes and how people react to it, especially Viserys. I honestly think at this point in time, he's so old and tired. He'd be like, "Fine, I don't got time."
Nah, he's gonna be upset.
I mean, Allison's gonna be upset, and she's
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
spitting
We'll
that
see.
ear,
He might
definitely.
be. He might die in the next episode. Who knows? I'm
I
waiting for the
mean,
clock to run out on Viserys. I really am. I'm
everyone
like,
is. Everyone is.
I'm over it. I'm ready for the clock.
Everyone in Westeros and everyone on in the world
Yeah.
now in the year 2022 is waiting for Viserys to die. Everyone. Do you think we'll see Laenor again? My gut says no.
No,
Okay.
he's done. I think he's
That
done.
was easy. That was
Yeah.
easy. But I mean, speaking of Laenor, okay, so the thing here too is like, and I don't think we mentioned this, that like the whole part of the issue here, like Allison was upset that Aemon lost an eye, and both Aemon and Otto was just like, an eye is a very small price to pay for the oldest and largest dragon in the world, right? So the Greens have three dragons now. One of them being the big largest dragon in the world. They have let me get this right. Let me not botch this. They have Sunfire, which is Aegon's dragon, Dreamfire, which is Helena's dragon, and now Vagar, which is Aemon's dragon. And then the Blacks have Syrax, Rhaenyra's dragon, Caraxes, Daemon's dragon, Vermax, who's with Jace, and Arax, which is Luke's.
Yeah.
Up in the air is Rhaenys and her dragon, Melise, like where they're going to stand. And really what I wanted to get at was Sea Smoke, Laenor's dragon. If he's like the way that we understand the bonding and pairing between a dragon and their rider, as Nessa was so eloquently getting at earlier when she was calling me out for saying that Aemon stole a dragon, is that's a bond for life. That dragon is not going to let another person ride them until they can feel that their rider has died. If Laenor is not dead, will Sea Smoke let somebody else ride him or her? Is the question.
That is the question.
Everyone would expect it though.
We don't know, because then it's like, because if Sea Smoke follows Laenor to Essos, he'll never be safe.
That's a dead giveaway. Yeah,
there's always going to be a dragon like flying around. I mean, there have been like stuff where it's like, oh, whispers of dragons just flying around or whatever, but the connection that they have, it'll be a giveaway. So is he able to escape from Sea Smoke? And then in doing so, does that break the bond?
That's the question.
Like we don't know exactly what's going to happen with this. And they better answer the question. I'm very curious to see what goes down with all of this.
They absolutely have to, because I mean, there's two options here, right? Like he was able to successfully sever his bond with the dragon, doing whatever. In which case, Sea Smoke is up for grabs, and maybe Rhaena will actually get a dragon this time. Who knows, right? That would make the most sense to me if she's able to claim it in time, like all that stuff, right?
If she claims him,
if she claims him, right? And then, or like you said, Laenor can't take that dragon with him to Essos. Maybe he tells Sea Smoke to just go live in old Valyria and just chill. Maybe that's what happens. I don't know.
Who knows?
But you're absolutely right. They have to answer this the next episode, because it will absolutely drive me insane.
Nuts.
Drive me insane. Final question. Whose side are you on? The Greens or the Blacks?
As of right now, I'm on the Black side.
I'm always going to bet Black. Let's be clear.
I'm on the Black side. I mean, okay, so the kids are legitimate. I get it and stuff. But at the end of the day, Rhaenyra was crowned heir. So it is what it is, man. Let the girl do what she got to do. And I just, yeah, I can't back up Allison and the Greens and them. I just can't do it. So I'm definitely Team Rhaenyra for sure. Who's team you on?
I'm Team Rhaenyra and for a very similar point, but I want to articulate it slightly differently. They're jumping the gun
Okay.
here. She's the heir, right? Let her
Mm-hmm.
be the heir for a while, and then you start like worrying about who is going to like be her heir. She could have a kid with Damon, and maybe everyone just decides, you know what? Let's just make him the heir. She can do that.
It's possible. But I think in doing that, that would call question to her virtue, is what it is. So
It would, but if you're the queen and like you can do what you want.
it would be for the Greens. It would be easier to take her out now, before she gets the crown, before she gets to do all that.
Oh,
It's
absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
get in there, let everybody know. So yeah, I'm definitely team. I'm definitely team Black for sure. I like the team that they got going on. They got some all-star players on
I
there.
got some hitters.
Hitters, some veteran dragon riders. I think I just think to me it's the more, even though listen, Allison got points. There are points to be made. She made them. And is Aegon's not the true heir. Squash that. I was gonna say, is he the true heir? He's not. It's freaking Rhaenyra. Whatever beef you got with her, oh well. Like, that's who's been named. Get over it. Move on. You're sitting here being pissed about everything that's going on, and you're so miserable with your own life because you're jealous that your friend got to go run around and have her best life. You gotta let that go. So to me, I'm gonna be Team Rhaenyra.
Yeah, agree. I think also there's this. Yes, I am on Rhaenyra's side. Also, I'm on the Blacks side, but it is frustrating to be rooting for a character that's so stupid.
Ugh,
She's so dumb. You
it's
already
tough.
had the entire kingdom against you before you got married, and you knew that.
It's
And yet
tough.
you still went out here and had multiple children. Come on, like it's just dumb. Like it's frustrating. It's frustrating to root for the person that's stupid. Allison's been super smart. She hasn't done a dumb thing yet besides coming at Rhaenyra with that knife. That was the
Well, I
first stupid
mean,
thing she did.
to be fair, she's only been done what she's told for the
Yes,
most
and,
part.
and Rhaenyra proactively did not do that.
Mm.
If Rhaenyra would have did that, she'd be in the same exact spot without all the extra drama.
True. Cheers to that. True.
Anyways, who do you think won the episode?
Amen. I think
Mm,
Amen won the episode. To me, he is MVP because although he lost an eye, boy,
that's a huge thing
uh,
to lose, by the way.
it's a huge thing to lose. But like he said, do not mourn me. It was a fair price to pay for a dragon. And I think he's absolutely right. He brought the championship home to his team, potentially. um, well, he drafted a big player. The boy drafted a big player because if you looked at Team Green before, they were severely lacking. Yes, Aegon has his dragon. Helena has her dragon. But does Helena seem interested in riding dragons? Absolutely not. She don't give a crap about that. So to get Vhagar on their side is a major, major play, not just for him, but the whole team. So to me, I was just like, he won. To me, he got it.
I respect it. Aemon came, he saw, he conquered, he had a mission, he executed, he did all that. I totally, totally respect it. The winners to me were Rhaenyra and Daemon, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because for a couple of reasons. One, Rhaenyra is still being like legitimized as the heir of the throne. Everyone saw her babies, and Viserys is still like, I don't care, she's still the heir. One,
Yeah.
two. Damon, she got to get rid of her husband that she didn't really like. She liked him, but like didn't really need him. Got rid of him. Got to marry the person she's been wanting to marry for forever. Damon also got to marry the person he's been wanting to marry for forever. Um, both their kids are in line for Driftmark and the throne, regardless like of what happens. Like I just feel like they ended up winning a lot. They both lost, obviously, in the last episode, but I feel like they're in a really good spot right now, and they all have their eyes. So
They all have their eyes. That's messed up, bro. They all have their eyes. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a great case to be made for them for sure. But I'm gonna stick by my boy Eamon. He's absolutely 100% gonna be a villain. But I'm.
I mean, they
I gotta.
he has to.
I gotta give him props where props are due. I think he made the better advancement. We don't know where their wedding and their union is gonna land, Rhaenyra and Daemon. I don't see it going well, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, speaking of that, as we get into the preview of next episode, we actually see that Rhaenyra and Daemon are still together, and we have another time jump. Another time jump.
We do.
It looks like there's a new Silverhead boy on the block. So either Alicent or Rhaenyra had another kid. Did you catch that?
I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be Aegon, or I was so confused.
I thought about that, but then I was just like, that kid doesn't look older than Aemon looks.
He does not.
He didn't. He looks younger.
I was confused about that. I wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think Alicent might have had another kid, which would be wild that Viserys was still having sex after this. Like, wild. Anyways. Or it could be Rhaenyra and Daemon's kid. Who knows? We see that Otto is ruling in Viserys' stead, which tells us the king may finally be on his deathbed, which motivates Ray and Day to return to King's Landing. And finally, Corlys is injured, so the succession of Driftmark is top of mind for a lot of people involved. That's what we saw in the preview of next week. Yeah. Anything about that, like, thoughts just about that in general?
Everything. It's a lot coming our way. It's to the point now where I'm just almost like, dang, I don't even want to speculate. I just want to let the wave wash over me. And whatever happens, happens. Whatever washes ashore. But it's a lot. I'm curious to know how far the time jump is. And because Aemon looks old. I don't know. Aemon looks a man grown.
I wonder if they have kids.
You think the jump is that big?
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Aegon had kids at the minimum.
Ooh,
a kid like him and Helena.
I don't know. We'll see. But they look grown. I'm curious to see how much the time jump is, and I need Viserys to die. Viserys needs to die in the next episode. If he don't, I'm going to be highly disappointed. I've never wished for someone's death this much than Joffrey's. Like, I just need him to go.
Ramsay.
Because I feel, you know what it is, I think, too? It's not that so much that, I just hate Viserys and I would see him die. I just know that when Viserys dies, all bets are off. And that's what I'm ready for.
Yeah. But the longer he holds out, the more we get pieces in place, right? On the chessboard.
I guess.
Yeah. I think I probably wish for Ramsay's death more than Joffrey's, honestly.
That too.
Essentially. But in any event, next episode should be very interesting. We have 3 episodes left, y'all.
Yep.
Episode 8, 9, and 10. It looks like Viserys might at least be on his deathbed next episode. If he makes it to the last episode, I'm going to scream. I'm legit going to scream.
No way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Yeah, I bet he will. Anyway. You want to take us out?
That wraps us up, everyone. And that was the episode. Season 1, episode 7. Driftmark of House of the Dragon. Make sure you guys stay tuned as we continue to cover House of the Dragon and various other shows and properties. We love talking about these stories. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe, comment, all the things. We are on Instagram at casualfangirls_. We are on YouTube at Casual Fangirls. Make sure you stick with us, y'all. Gods be good. We'll see what happens next episode. As always, I am Nessa.
And I'm T.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. See you guys next time.